Hello everyone, Dr. Sunil Dand, internal medicine physician. A major medical journal has published an investigative report from a research whistleblower raising major concerns about potential data integrity issues at the Pfizer vaccine trial. This was published this week in the British Medical Journal. The link is down below. And what's in the article is truly shocking. I'm going to go over it in a moment. But following a recurrent theme, I've raised this issue before. It is not American publications, whether it be the media or medical publications, that are raising legitimate concerns and asking the right questions. It falls upon overseas publications yet again to do this. The British Medical Journal is the leading journal in the United Kingdom and also very well known internationally. They do very thorough and investigative articles and reporting. So when I first came to America, this was not even that long ago, a few years ago, this was the place to be for medicine and science. Debate was open, it was rigorous. That's no longer the case. I remember before, and this applies in facets outside of medicine as well, when people used to say something you didn't like or do something you didn't approve of, they would retort with, well, it's a free country, isn't it? You hardly hear that said anymore. Isn't that interesting? And unfortunately, this has pervaded medicine and science as well, which is truly disgusting. If there's anywhere which should be open, rigorous, and asking the right questions, it is medicine and science, and yet we're not doing it. I want that America back that I first moved to not so long ago. And those of us who really believe in this country and believe that there are more honest people here than dishonest people seem like we'll have to fight to get it back. But I am cautiously optimistic for the future if we have the right values and keep on asking the right questions and holding people to account. I find it so interesting that the country I moved from, the United Kingdom, now appears more free in many ways than the United States. All Americans watching, get onto this. You had some cherished values and you cannot lose them. Speaking of the United Kingdom then, let's go over this British Medical Journal article. COVID-19, researcher blows the whistle on data integrity issues in Pfizer's vaccine trial. Revelations of poor practices at a contract research company helping to carry out Pfizer's pivotal COVID-19 vaccine trial raise questions about data integrity and regulatory oversight. In autumn 2020, Pfizer's chairman and chief executive released an open letter to the billions of people around the world who were investing their hopes in a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine to end the pandemic. But for researchers who were testing Pfizer's vaccine at several sites in Texas during that autumn, speed may have come at the cost of data integrity and patient safety. A regional director who was employed at the research organization Vantavia Research Group has told the BMJ that the company falsified data, unblinded patients, employed inadequately trained vaccinators, and was slow to follow up on adverse events reported in Pfizer's pivotal phase 3 trial. Wow, that is quite a series of accusations. Staff who conducted quality control checks were overwhelmed by the volume of problems they were finding. After repeatedly notifying Vantavia of these problems, the regional director emailed a complaint to the US FDA. Vantavia fired her later the same day. She has provided the BMJ with dozens of internal company documents, photos, audio recordings, and emails. So while I can't say anything about the person involved here, this does seem like a crazy story, I can vouch for the integrity of the British Medical Journal. Let's read on. Poor laboratory management. On its website, Vantavia calls itself the largest privately owned clinical research company in Texas and lists many awards it has won for its contract work. But the BMJ was told by this former director that she repeatedly informed her superiors of poor lab management, patient safety concerns, and data integrity issues. She was a trained clinical trial auditor who previously held a director of operations position and came to Vantavia with more than 15 years' experience in clinical research coordination and management. Exasperated that Vantavia was not dealing with the problems, she documented several matters late one night, taking photos on her mobile phone. One photo provided to the BMJ showed needles discarded in a plastic biohazard bag instead of a sharps container box. Another showed vaccine packaging materials with trial participants' identification numbers written on them left out in the open, potentially unblinding participants. Early and inadvertent unblinding may have occurred on a far wider scale. For those of you who are not trained in medicine or science, What blinding means is that you don't want in a research trial the people conducting the study to know which person is receiving which medication or placebo, because obviously that might bias a study result. In a recording of a meeting in late September 2020, two directors at Ventavia can be heard explaining that the company wasn't able to quantify the types and number of errors they were finding when examining the trial paperwork for quality control. "In my mind, it's something new every day," one executive says. "We know that it's significant." Ventavia was not keeping up with data entry queries. The expectation for this study is that all queries are addressed within 24 hours. Over 100 outstanding queries older than 3 days were highlighted. Examples included 2 individuals for which subject has reported with severe symptoms reactions. Per protocol, subjects experiencing grade 3 local reactions should be contacted. Please confirm if an unplanned contact was made and update the corresponding form as appropriate. According to the trial protocol, a telephone contact should have occurred to ascertain further details and determine whether a site visit is clinically indicated. Worries over FDA inspection. Documents show that problems had been going on for weeks. In a list of action items circulated among Ventavia leaders in early August 2020, shortly after the trial began, a Ventavia executive identified 3 site staff members with whom to go over e-diary, issue falsifying data, etc. One of them was verbally counseled for changing data and not noting late entry. That they would even mention the term falsifying data is highly concerning. At several points during late September, Ventavia executives discussed the possibility of the FDA showing up for an inspection. Of course, I encourage you all to read the actual article. The link is down below. The article then goes on in a box to talk about a history of lax oversight. The next morning, 25th of September 2020, she called the FDA to warn about unsound practices in Pfizer's clinical trial at Ventavia. She then reported her concerns in an email to the agency. In the afternoon, Ventavia fired her, deemed not a good fit, according to her separation letter. She said it was the first time she had been fired in her 20-year career in research. What were the actual concerns raised? Well, they are listed in the article. Participants placed in a hallway after injection and not being monitored by clinical staff. Lack of timely follow-up of patients who experienced adverse events. Protocol deviations not being reported. Vaccines not being stored at proper temperatures. Mislabeled lab specimens. Targeting of Ventavia staff for reporting these types of problems. That last one there is especially unsettling. Targeting of staff for reporting problems. Now, it's worth noting that Ventavia enrolled more than 1,000 participants at 3 sites. The full trial enrolled around 44,000 participants across 153 sites. That included numerous commercial companies and academic centers. So if Ventavia, as one of the largest companies, is doing these types of things, the other natural question is, are other companies doing similar things without the necessary oversight? So after she sent the email raising her concerns, she received an email from the FDA thanking her for her concerns and notifying her that the FDA could not comment on any investigation that might result. A few days later, she received a call from an FDA inspector to discuss her report, but was told that no further information could be provided. She heard nothing further in relation to her report. So you would think that if she submitted these concerns to the FDA would launch an investigation. In Pfizer's briefing document submitted to an FDA advisory committee meeting held on the 10th of December 2020 to discuss Pfizer's application for emergency use authorization of its COVID-19 vaccine, the company made no mention of problems at the Ventavia site. The next day, the FDA issued the authorization of the vaccine. In August this year, after the full approval of Pfizer's vaccine, the FDA published a summary of its inspections of the company's pivotal trial. 9 of the trial's 153 sites were inspected. Ventavia's sites were not listed among the 9, and no inspections of sites where adults were recruited took place in the 8 months after the December 2020 emergency authorization. So that is astonishing that after these concerns were raised, the FDA didn't even go to this site. In recent months, she reconnected with several former Ventavia employees who all left or were fired from the company. It then talks about the experiences of other employees. 2 former employees spoke to the BMJ anonymously for fear of reprisal and loss of job prospects in the tightly knit research community. Both confirmed broad aspects of her complaints. One added that during her time at Ventavia, which she described as a helter-skelter work environment, the company expected a federal audit, but that this never came. After she left the company, problems persisted at Ventavia. In several cases, Ventavia lacked enough employees to swab all trial participants who reported COVID-like symptoms to test for infection. Laboratory confirmed symptomatic COVID-19 was the trial's primary endpoint, the employee noted. An FDA review memorandum released in August this year states that across the full trial, swabs were not taken from 477 people with suspected cases of symptomatic COVID-19. That sentence there is truly mind-boggling. It will actually take me some time to process the magnitude of that sentence. A second employee also described an environment at Ventavia unlike any she had experienced in her 20 years doing research. The article then concludes with this paragraph. Since she reported problems with Ventavia to the FDA in September 2020, Pfizer has hired Ventavia as a research subcontractor on 4 other vaccine clinical trials, including those involving children. The Advisory Committee for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is set to discuss the COVID-19 pediatric vaccine trial on the 2nd of November. So the 2nd of November has already happened, and here we are now. This article is shocking on so many different levels, but what's more shocking to me is that so far, none of the US media, including medical publications, have even picked up on it, and I'm not hearing it being discussed. To be fair, however, it's still early days. The article just got published in the British Medical Journal this week, so let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But I think everybody should be talking about it. Data integrity is the key building block of everything we do in medicine and science, and my own solution to this would be that when you have an issue like this of national or international importance and you're relying on good data and good studies, you must have independent people overseeing everything. People who are not paid by any companies and are making sure that everything is done by the book and data is full of integrity and can be trusted. Thanks everyone for listening. Check out the article again. Link is down below. Dr. Sunil Dan, MedStoic Lifestyle Medicine. We'll speak again very soon.